On the border region of the Romel's kingdom, in the Valiant Forest, Lulutina hops around looking to gather mushrooms. She comes upon a small batch of mushrooms growing under a tree, and as she plucks them, she notes their size. However, she thinks about how it is better than nothing. As she blocked the mushrooms from behind her, she hears commotion as two people tell each other to stop. She looks back and finds Lara, and Lana squabbling. However, Lulutina quickly interjects and, addressing the desktop fighting, tells them to hurry up and start collecting mushrooms before nightfall. As she breaks up the commotion, Altina and Lulutina approach, telling Lulutina that there are barely any edible mushrooms. Altina adds that there are no animals in the pitfalls either. Lulutina states that it is not looking good and that there are fewer fruits than she thought. Her face fills with sadness as she thinks about how they haven't had a filling meal for a month. If they could at least hunt properly, perhaps they could be fed. As Lulutina stands there lost in thought, Lana, Lara, and Laro express their hunger. At the same time, they tell Lulutina how hungry they are. She apologizes to the three little ones and tells them that the guardian spirits of the forest will watch over them. Next time, she is sure they will have a successful hunt. Lulutina informs Lulutina that if they stay any longer, they won't be able to make it before sundown. Lulutina agrees, expressing how disappointing the hunt was. She states that they should head back, agreeing with what Lulutina had to say. As they face towards home and begin walking, they hear a noise in the distance which alarms them. Lulutina notices the voice. Suddenly, a group of men with capes donned and armor upon horseback approaches rapidly. Abandoning seeing the men look likely, Lulutina tells the others to take the little ones and run. However, not while they leave her behind. Lulutina tells them that she will be fine, and after she loses the humans, they will meet up at the side of the creek they found yesterday. As she turns her back towards Lillian and begins to head away, she tries to call out to her with a concerned look on her face. However, Lulutina is determined to protect them. After a moment, Lulutina sneaks ever closer to the men, hiding in the bushes. As she sets her eyes upon them, she realizes that, as she thought, they are the knights from Romel's. She thinks about how they're pursuing them even into these remote places. Despite the werewolves losing the war against the humans faking their intent to negotiate peace poisoned their elders and her father, the chieftain. He remained determined and sought to fight a deciding battle but was no longer with them. He died trying to protect them, and by submitting, the remaining werewolves apparently avoided extinction. But his daughters, the daughters of a chieftain, that was something they could not quite accept. Amidst the confusion of war, they left their den and set out far, far west. Finally, they reached the forest where their ancestors once supposedly lived. As the night settles, one of them asks if they can trust the information about demi-human remnants. However, the knight's companion tells him that they can, since the village hunters claimed that they caught glimpses of similar-looking creatures. Upon hearing this, the knight is delighted, stating that after venturing out to these lands, it would be a pity if they had to go back empty-handed. However, his statement is quickly interrupted by Lulutina leaping onto him and swiftly cutting off his head, beheading him. This shocks the other knights, who are left speechless. They shout ambush as soon as they lay their eyes upon her, while all she thinks about is that even if it costs her her life, she must protect her little sisters. She speaks to the girls, father, mother, gods, and spirits of the forest, asking them to grant her their blessing so that she may fight these devils. Sounds of metal clashing fill the forest as Lulutina stands between the men, going sword to sword. She quickly locks words with a man who asks her if she can afford to be looking sideways. As the two spar, while Lulutina tries to fight with the most concentration, the knights take this battle in jest. One of the knights calls out to George and asks him what he is doing, asking if he has still not caught her, adding that at the rate at which he is going, the first catch will be his. However, George tells Trap to shut up. Additionally, he tells him to stop stating and help him out just a teeny bit. As he turns his eyes back towards Lulutina, he states that he broke a sweat when she cut down the commander. However, that shabby swordsmanship is not even enough to cut him down. He kicks her in the stomach, throwing her back and breaking their locked swords. She falls back onto the ground as she calls out to her knife and suddenly realizes that her legs have given up. The knight approaches her and asks her if that was all that she had. However, she pulls out an even smaller knife and threatens the knight. She tells him to stay away. However, the knight, his eyes filled with lust, speaks about losing himself and her darkened eyes. As she calls out to her cords, then the knight tells her not to worry since he is now her new god. As he scares her even more, a loud roar is heard from behind him. All the knights turn their faces trying to find the source of the noise, and as they do, their faces fill with horror and terror. while Lulutina simply thinks and wonders if it is a spirit. A little while ago, a man was climbing a mountain, and as he screwed up and slipped down, which was all he remembered. However, as he opened his eyes, he wondered where he was and realized that there is no snow. He was supposed to be on Okuho in an extremely cold season, but he wondered if spring came while he was unconscious. He sits there against the tree, massaging his head, trying to realize what happened. As he tries to speak, however, and he looks down at his hands, he finds paws instead of hands and a roar instead of a voice. He realizes that he was a bear and wonders what the hell was going on. He eventually found a puddle and looked down upon it, and as he saw his reflection, he found himself to be a polar bear. While he wondered if he turned into a polar bear, and if that was exactly what happened, his stomach began to growl. He sat down and decided to catch his breath, and as he did so, he thought about how if he had a climbing accident and fell down the valley, it is unlikely that he could be saved, in which case, living like a bear is good, and he decides to try as he turns his paws into a fist. He found a river nearby and decided to get some fish. However, he was incredibly unsuccessful. Despite swiping at them multiple times, he could not catch anything. He swooped over and over, however, the way he was acting. He was announcing to the whole world that he had no talent as a bear. He then decided to grab a large boulder and threw it into the ground. As he did, the shock waves and ripples that the boulder left killed multiple fish, and they began to rise up to the surface. While he thought about how the fish had beheld the tremendous effects of his shockwave, he thought about how the fish would nourish his body. He gave up on acting like a bear pretty early. He further thought about how catching them is one thing, but wondered how he was supposed to eat them since he was worried about the parasites in river fish. He did not have a lighter or matches, so he could not cook them, and he was still kind of averse to eating them raw. As he thought there and wondered how to overcome the conundrum, he sensed something moving in the distance, and there was a familiar smell. As he sneaked through the forest and hid behind some trees, he found humans and was looking at Lulutina fighting one of the knights. He thought about how they were acting strange and wondered if the girl was fighting some men. After overhearing their conversation for a moment, he realized that, according to what he had overheard, the poor girl is part of a minority called werewolves. The vulgar-looking guys are from the army sent by whoever rules this land. To be honest, this was the first time he saw humans fighting to the death, and no matter how he looked at it, those men looked like the bad guys. If it is a lot versus one, there is no problem to join in to assist, and that is exactly what he did as he suddenly appeared and began to stand on his hind feet and roared as loud as he could to scare away the humans. His mere sight frightened them, while they thought about how it was a monster and a kumakichi fiend. However, he simply thought about how he hoped they would leave the girl behind and run away, and that is exactly what most of the knights did. However, George stood behind and told them that they should not be afraid since it was just one bear and urged them to take it down. They pointed their spears at the polar bear. When he thought about how if he was a goner after one head and if they stabbed him with the spears, it would be bad, he decided to charge forward and would work out somehow, but in that moment, all he could think about was to charge forward. After a while, he opened his eyes as it had gotten quiet. Lulutina approached the bear and wondered if it was a spirit, if it was perhaps the guardian spirit of the forest, as she quickly went and hugged it, while the bear simply thought about how she did not seem injured. However, as he looked around, he looked at the carnage, and he thought about how he just went with the flow and kept acting. People, however, this scene made him look like a peerless warrior. He did not really feel like a victor. However, and it was more like smashing some insects that he can't bear this feeling. He wondered if his soul would start to follow his body and become that of a bear. As he looked back down at the girl, he realized that there was something strange on her head. As he began squishing her ears, he wondered what they would think about. He thought about how a 28-year-old guy fiddling with a little girl was pretty much sexual assault and that they should go somewhere else first. In order to do so, he picked up Lulutina and took her far away. While he thought about how even if army reinforcements came, they should not be able to find her here anytime soon. As he left her there, he told her goodbye and called her a little dog-eared girl. He told her to live long. Even though he did not gain much information this time, he was still lucky that he managed to grab some useful items from the guys he defeated. After eating some preserved food like dried meat and biscuits, he made a fire and cooked the river fish. As he did, he thought about how it was delicious. After completing his meal, he sat against some rocks while he thought about how it was so good and he should try hunting next time. It looks like he can somehow manage his new life in the forest. As he started having similar bright thoughts, he came upon a large brown bear. while he thought about how he would not be able to make friends with the first fellow bear he met. Wondering if this guy was a real bear, he wondered if the first of his species, another bear, could be his friend. As they stood there opposite each other, looking each other eye to eye, the brown bear pounced forward with his claws drawn and his mouth wide open, hoping to draw blood as he attacked. However, a simple push and dodge threw the bear off balance. As the bear stood back for a moment, he thought that it felt like he had lost to such a soft push. However, the bear now too stood on his hind feet and flailed his arms around, hoping to look bigger. He then approached once again with his claws drawn. However, his claws were met with a block, and the brown bear also took a punch to the face. As he did, his nose let out a stream of blood. Afterward, the polar bear drew his own claws and began scratching, and after a while, the brown bear ran away. After his fight, he sat there tired and thought about how he wanted to meet someone but believed that that was not happening. This all happened because he bumped heads with him by chance, but this was probably his turf, and the polar bear was overstepping. As he lay down in the grass, he thought about how he won't go near this place ever again. After a short rest, he began walking through the forest once again with the desire to see mountains, and he wondered if it was perhaps because of that unexpected battle. As the polar bear made his way through the forest, he arrived upon a large opening and thought about how it was a very nice place, and the view was very nice. As he enjoyed the serenity of the place, he came upon Lilitina, Lara, Lana, Laro, and Altina. They wondered if he was God, another manifested thought, and they instantly bowed down before him. One of the little ones stated that he saved their lives yesterday, and they never thanked him. This crying deserved certain death, and if it was all right with the bear, they would offer their body. They further begged him to please protect her little sisters using his power as a guardian deity, while he simply wondered what the hell was going on, unaware that they believed him to be God. He stood up off his log and first told them to be quiet, then added that they were perhaps having a misunderstanding of some sort since he was just a happy polar bear. As he felt awkward telling them that he was not this great guardian polar bear that they were talking about, Lulutina had a moment of realization as she realized that he was not a god. She realized that this came late and then introduced herself as Lulutina, the werewolf. He then introduced himself and told her that he had the lame name of Kumakichi. She repeated his name back to him and then told him that it may seem weird, but that it was a wonderful name for someone like him. He thought for a moment and then told her that it would help if she talked about her situation. He told her that he did not know what was happening on her at all, as she stated that he appeared out of nowhere on this land and that she, the unworthy Lulutina, will answer with all her body and soul. He asked for just the general situation. After Lulutina had briefed Kumakichi about their situation and how the werewolves were killed by the knights and how they hunted their father as well, and how they now hunt her and her sisters into this forest, he sat on the log before them and stated that only the sisters made it through the forest. Lulutina told him that her sisters and her were prepared to die yesterday, and if they were about to be harmed by those dreaded humans, they would have bitten off their tongues first. But Kumakichi suppressed those evil knights and bit them, and they finally felt a bit of relief, and their ancestral spirits are surely relieved as well. As Lulutina urged everybody to say thanks to Kumakichi, he acted humble in response to their gratitude. He stated that he appreciated the thanks and told them to lift their heads up since he can't help but feel very awkward in the moment. One of the little ones wondered if they could hug him. Azula asked how she could be so rude. Kumakichi, however, told her that she could, and she suddenly jumped onto him and hugged him tightly. Following her, Lana and Laro jumped up on Kumakichi as well, while Lulutina urged them to behave. She tried to tell them that they were bothering Kumakichi and told them to get off. However, they did not and kept on climbing. There was a moment of happiness between the girls as they played around with Kumakichi, and Lulutina too was happy looking at the little ones having fun with him and talked about how giddy they were. As they stood in the opening playing around, rain suddenly appeared, and as it did, Lulutina asked if it was alright if he would want to stay in at their hideout since it was really close by. Kumakichi decided to accept their offer, and as they reached the hideout, they apologized that there was nothing that they could give him. However, he stated that there's no problem since he just wanted to simply see it. While he thought about how they made this natural cave a hideout and that it was damp, dark, cramped, and the air was bad, he looked around the cave and observed. One of the little ones poked him and pointed him towards a bed of dried branches and told him that he would sleep there. In response, Kumakichi asked if they always sleep well. Lulutina told Lulutina that she was signaling her not to bring him over. She should have told her that next time. As the little one shivered, Kumakichi called them towards him, and as he wandered the little one, he told them that he thinks they should quickly move to a better place and that they would be fine if they had for like him. But they can't endure the cold. As Lulutina told him that she really wanted to do that too, as the others expressed hunger, Lulutina apologized to Kumakichi and told him that they had not gotten much food as of late and everyone's hungry now. Upon hearing that, he got up and left, and while he was asked where he was going, he stated that the first problem that they had was food, then the house. After leaving the cave, Kumakichi began hunting a boar with the aid of the girls. They told him exactly where it was, and accordingly he punched it, killing the boar with a single swift punch. As he did, the girls' eyes widened, and their faces filled with joy as they told him that he did it proudly. Upon seeing the dead boar, the girls suddenly began to bite down on it, which led to Kumakichi stating that they were still young in mind. He further added that this hunt was very big, and the others agreed with him. He was thinking about how it was 300 kilos, or perhaps it was going a little too far, and maybe it would be better to disassemble it here and bring it over. He stated that he was not a polar bear who could carry all this junk, as the girls carried the boar for him and told Kumakichi that they should bring it back quickly. As he realized that he forgot this was a fantasy world, they relocated their hunt. After relocating their hunt, they lit a fire, but Kumakichi thought about how he had set animal carcasses alight before, and he had to use hot water and block out the hairs. There are ways to peel the skin off, like when skinning a deer, and then burn all the hairs off, and as he did, he called to Lulutina and asked for her knife. She offered it to him and told him that he can use it as he likes. Then he used the knife to scrape off the hair because it is easier to peel. After shaving the boar clean, he made a quick incision and took the energy out. The girls thought about how they were so hungry and their stomach was rumbling, and finally how it smelled so good. However, there was more work to do as Kumakichi had to clean other bones. After he did, the body was completely prepared and ready to be cooked. The girls looked on with absolute delight. After cooking the meat, they began to eat and commented on how good it was. Lulutina commented that Lena had her cheeks puffing out, while Kumakichi simply thought about how if the boar made them this happy, maybe he can pass on, and it should be cooked enough. Maybe he should have a taste, and as he did, he noted that it was very good. In delight, the girls ran up and hugged him. Back in the cave as night dawned, he sat next to them as they slept, leaning against him, getting cozy with his fire. While Lulutina woke up, she called out to Kumakichi and asked him if he was still awake. He told her that he was too, which Lulutina told him that she had a request. Upon inquiring further, she asked him to teach her how to get peace. She further stated that asking him to do this after he did so much is very rude of her, and she knows this. However, she is desperate. However, Kumakichi told her that in his world, they have an expression which says rubbing shoulders goes into the incarnation. While she pondered about what he meant, he stated that it meant a small encounter like rubbing shoulders by chance should be treated well because it could have a deeper meaning. In his former world, he is a polar bear beginner, but he got some old bear wisdom and he will help her with whatever she wants. She asked him how old he was. However, she quickly apologized, noticing that she may have asked something rude. However, he told her not to worry about that, as he stated that he was only 28 years old and he is her brother who is much older than her, and that he's already an old bear. However, she stated that 28 is still young, and she further stated that his fur was very gentle and beautiful like silver. While he wondered if she was praising him, he really did not know, but if she praised him, it will be polite to make her happy. In response to her compliments, Kumakichi told her that her bushy tail is also very nice, and he thinks it is cute. Well, he thought about how perhaps this is a good compliment and a perfect place to thank her. As she asked if he was serious, he noticed her. He thought about how in times like this she looks like a beautiful girl. As Lulutina asked if Kumakichi was perhaps part of the elm species, confused, he asked her what she meant. As she stated that they were demi-human species that look like bears, she further added that they speak human and walk on 2 legs, and depending on the region, they even seem to participate in administration as demi-humans. But they look like animal bears. As Kumakichi was led to ask if there was any way to tell them apart, she responded that there was, and the species they called beast folk have really easy differences. To which Kumakichi stated that he now understands why she was not very surprised when he talked. She stated that his fire was pure just like the legend, and as he inquired what she meant, she stated that in the variant forest there is only a legend her species knows about. When the wolf cubs chase them to the land of the dead, the Kumakichi guardian will descend from the heavens and destroy all evil. he will create the foundations of peace and security in the forest for 1,000 years. Which is why when she first came across him, she thought the god appeared before them after pitting them. As Kumakichi stated that he does not look like a god and that he just did what he could, he wondered what was up with the weird laughs of the little girls. As he decided to go to sleep since tomorrow was early, and good girls and bad girls should get to bed, Lulutina told Kumakichi that she was not a kid anymore. However, Kumakichi dismissed her and told her that the night goes on and that she must come to the floor, and staying up late won't be good for her beauty. And as she heard this, she began to blush and agreed. Lulutina led Kumakichi further into the forest, and this one approached abandoned ruins which were once used by the dwarves. While Kumakichi stated that even though it seemed abandoned, it doesn't look like it is old, Lulutina urged Kumakichi to be careful. He stated that he can smell people from that house, and he thought about how they're losing out a very bad feeling and will they have been hated and impressed by humans. It is not like he can understand their feelings, and there is a reason due to they have come to this place so close to a human village without these two. And that's because there was something he wanted no matter what as he stood before the girls trying to protect them. A few days ago, the little girls caused a conundrum, stating they wanted to be roasted as Lucy Tree. Kumakichi said that if they kept acting so selfishly, she won't give any of the meat that Kumakichi had gotten for them. As the girls kept on stating that they wanted to be roasted and then they want to eat it, Kumakichi said that if they roasted it, it would become hard, so it is better to submit. But he thought about how they really must have liked the wild boar steak. Altina, however, scared off the girls as he asked if they could bear it if they roasted half of it and some of the other half. As the girls quickly ran towards him, they said that they could, and that they loved it quite a lot. However, Kumakichi was told not to spoil them too much, as the girls told Kumakichi that they loved him and that they hated their sister, while he wondered if they were false tears. Lulutina then told them that she had just finished preparing the fish and asked what they were doing, as she told them that the salt had been added correctly and that they had been gutted keenly, and others where they would get to make dry fish, which made Lulutina glad, and as they added that it looked delicious, Kumakichi told them that they could not eat it quite yet. After that, Kumakichi stated that he believed it was time for him to get going since if a big guy like him stayed, he would only get in the way and he would look for another place to sleep. However, before he could even finish his sentence, this stated that he should stay since his presence alone was encouraging, and the little girls too urged him to stay, and so he stayed in the give the following night. As night fell, Kumakichi asked if Lulutina knew if there were any carpentry tools around, as she apologized, sitting at the runaway with only what they were wearing, so things like those could only be found in human villages. As he took the blame wherefrom, he stated that he was just thinking that there are lots of materials here, so if he had the necessary tools he would be able to make a lot of things. While he was looking at her, there was a plan taking form inside of him, adding that there isn't any problem for him to endure the winter. But these girls were poorly equipped and will suffer. So with that said, he decided to give the girls a house as a present, and in that case, not to mention living next to them, it will be even impossible to establish a relationship of coming to play and stay the night, which was a welcome situation. And to be able to have an intimate relationship with beautiful girls is a really welcome situation, even if he is a polar bear. And for that to happen, he will need to somehow get some carpentry tools, and even if a polar bear goes to ask for them, he will just be a captured target. Lulutina stated that on the way there were some abandoned ruins left behind by the doors. As Kumakichi inquired further, the later on, together with a few of the girls, came to the ruins that are about 30 miles to the east of the cave, and the buildings still looked clean but had locks on them, which Kumakichi easily broke, and as he entered, it looked like a treasure trove from access to source. There was a mountain of carpentry and even maintenance tools there with replacement parts as well. Kumakichi began dancing in happiness. However, the girls were not happy with the carpentry tools, and if it was possible, he would like to find a way to satisfy daily necessities in a permanent form. And for now, they have taken all the necessary things, undecided to head back as it became something like stealing. But it's for the sake of the sisters and his happiness, so he hoped others would think nothing bad of him. But as they began walking, a familiar smell appeared, as it is the smell of humans. Lulutina instantly believed that they were following her. However, Kumakichi told her not to draw her blade, as he said that her resentment against humans is her anger being transmitted to him. And to be honest, before dying in the models, he was just an ordinary Japanese person living in a peaceful world, and he can't imagine the resentment they must be harboring for the fact that their kin have been eradicated, like if those are normal things to do. but if they don't know if they're here chasing the Latina, and even if he is accused of being naive, he won't allow them to start killing each other because of irrational reasons. After calming the girls down, the bear observed the humans from the bush as he heard what they had to say. And as he heard the conversation, he realized that they were not targeting him and that it would be troublesome if they bumped into each other. And even though they had already gathered up all the treasure, he wondered if they should give up now. Suddenly they heard a noise in the distance and realized that perhaps it was a snake. And a mantra certainly appeared, a large snake which began eating up all the humans. They thought about how they should escape quickly before it detects them. And he told the two girls to hurry up and leave this place quickly. However, the pleas of the humans held him back, as he looked at the snakes slowly devouring them one after one, and then he suddenly stood before a human and stated that if he hears a scream, it's in his personality since he was a kid to not be able to just keep watching and do nothing. And as he appeared, the humans were shocked, and so were the girls, and the snake looked at him attentively. After standing between the men and the snake, Kumakichi told him to hurry up and escape. Even though they were shocked at the fact that the bear was talking, they were still too afraid to focus on that and decided to run away as Kumakichi told them that he was smarter than the average bear. They just thought about how it was quite an extraordinary bear. After the humans fled, he stood before the snake and thought about how from here on it was going to be an unrestrained duel between him and the snake. He suddenly leaped forward with his claws drawn and cut into the snake. Blood gushed out while he thought about how it stank. In retaliation, the snake threw venom from its fangs. The snake venom was so strong that it could melt the ground, and it did not matter how sturdy the leather of a polar bear is, the venom was still dangerous as Kumakichi jumped around trying to avoid it. The girls called out to him as they thought about how an attack like this was unfair. However, Velutina told the Latina that she needs to calm down and believe in him. As the battle between Kumakichi and the snake heated up, he thought about how he could not keep going like this and he would be defeated first. However, to combat the snake's venom, he decided to grab some of those tools that he stole and attack the snake with them. As he threw multiple different tools at the snake, trying to get its attention, finally, one of the axes that he threw at the snake pierced its neck. It let out a big moan of pain. Finally, Kumakichi used that as a distraction and then punched the snake in its face, breaking its fangs. If the fangs got broken, then there was nothing to be afraid of. He suddenly grabbed it by its face and hugged tightly while Kumakichi bit into the snake. As he did, he pulled its skin out, and upon doing so, the snake's eyes turned black, and it fell to the ground. That's how he won this duel. After winning the duel, he was met with both the people that he had saved and the girls. The people stated that the legendary guardian deity of the forest had come to save them, and they all suddenly bowed down to him once again. He wondered what the situation was but realized that this could be a chance for him. As he decided to give a speech, he stated that the evil demon snake has been suppressed by the divine guardian. He urged them not to worry, and he does not wish to have meaningless fights in the forest. If there is a cost to a person who comes from remote lands, then they must welcome and take them in with compassion. And if he responds to mischief or gathering troops for violence, it will bring down the wrath of the gods. The people quickly accepted, but then one of them had a question. They asked that the snake was indeed an incredible monster, but it did not seem like the monsters attacking the villages around here. They also can't go inside the mountains or prepare for the winter, or it looks bad. And they also don't have enough money to employ an adventurer, and if possible, they would like to ask Kumakichi to take down the monster. As they began to beg him, he told them to leave the monster matter to him, and further told them to be gentle to the people who have escaped from difficult situations. After the people left, he realized that he did not know what the monster was, but he managed to act like a dignified god. He hoped that this would improve the situation of the girls. As the girls told him that he was truly a legendary guardian god and sang his praises, he thought about how it was also being believed here that he was a god. And as a result of using some time to explain it to the two, he finally convinced them that it was a misunderstanding, or that was how it was supposed to be. He wondered if the misunderstanding had been solved, as Lulutina stated that she understood that it was his temporary appearance on this world and that she would not pursue this matter anymore. And then after this, they decided to head back home. Kumakichi is working hard and thinking about how it would help him at a time like this to think that his previous lumberjack job had him do. He realizes that at this place, he will finish gathering the logs quickly. When used as building material, it made houses sturdier and long-lasting. Japanese cedar had almost 4 times the resistance than iron. While he's dropping down the wood, the other 3 girls turn to him and tell him that they had managed to chop down a few trees as well. The three girls run towards him and tell him that they want to do it as well. He tells them that they need to stop causing trouble. To transport the acquired trees, all the girls had begun pruning them. The branches could all be used later on, and the cheeky triplets were in charge of moving them to the cave. He realizes that at this rate, they could start construction earlier than he had thought. As he enters the cave, he asks where everyone is, to which he is told that everybody had gone to take a bath. Kumakichi says that he thinks he will go today as well, now that she had mentioned there was a hot spring nearby. That with this body, he didn't think that his hands could reach his back. Riri asks if she should wash his back for him, to which he tells her that she should not be teasing him. He thinks about how she could be feeling ill or something, as this was something that he did not expect her to say. Apart from that, she kept mumbling something with a really low voice, but he could not understand what she was saying. Eventually, he agrees and says that she should wash his back. Right as he says this, Lulutina and the girls enter. Lulutina is very frustrated. Kumakichi thinks about how he thought it would be fine since there were different species, but maybe it was still not good that he guesses he should have acted more considerate towards an adolescent girl. The atmosphere gets very dense, and Kumakichi wonders what's wrong. He thought that they had had a relationship like father and daughter, but he guesses they were wrong. He begins to wonder if he accidentally said something that he wasn't supposed to say. He wonders if that means something different in this world, to watch somebody's back. A few days after leaves began to fall, Lulutina realized that it was really spectacular. Jesus, now that she had mentioned it, he hadn't really told her his goal. She asks what he wants to do, to which he says that he does not want to tell her yet. He thinks about how today he will just appreciate their efforts, and he thinks that they might have gone too far, but they could use the extra wood for fire. He tells Lulutina that what he had planned was to build a house for all of them, and he was thinking of using the logs. The girls are shocked, asking if he wants to build a house for them, a proper house to live in and not just hold animals. He tells her that that is true and that is what he wants to do, that if everyone works hard, they could get a warm house faster. But in order to do that, they will all need to cooperate. With that being said, they started working with the logs together with the motivated girls. If they didn't peel off, the termites might enter, and therefore peeling the wood was a must. They would make a horizontal cut and start pushing down. After doing so, they put a notch at both ends of the logs and a saddle notch so that they could stack them as they were. Then they began to cut the logs to size. Kumakichi realizes that he wants to start quickly with the construction and wonders if winter is close considering the days were becoming shorter. He realizes that this way the logs would suffice to make the building. After a long day of work, he relaxes in the water, thinking about how it feels. Great. Of course, it wasn't something he had expected. Wild animals usually hosted parasites in their bodies. Normally, bears did not have any. He wonders if he actually even is a bear. Because he was a white bear, he wasn't sure that he should be heating himself up. He wonders if his body produces some toxin or something that when he grabbed the deer he hunted and got some of it takes. Maybe that was something that could actually happen, that this could be another blessing from the Buddha. He begins to think about it and realizes that his body was at least 220 centimeters tall, and his thing was that he was cute. He continues, thinking that his sexual preferences might have changed since he incarnated as a bear, but that wasn't it. He thinks about Lulutina and how she had met in all the right places. Maybe it was because he was not in heat, but it didn't even twitch. Even if he was a white bear, he still had small problems like this, but that was a relief in its way. He goes back to the cave and is welcomed by the triplets. He begins to play with them and thinks about how it is a very peaceful day. On the other hand, Joseph and his teammates end up getting attacked by Shiro. This chapter begins as a white bear spots a Buna mushroom. He thinks about how he often sees moisture-loving mushrooms on his route by the mountain streams. They pair well with meat since they absorb all the umami flavor, doubling the deliciousness. Today he had wandered into the forest in order to harvest mushrooms. He had gotten tired of eating meat since that was all that they had ever since they were reincarnated. He thinks about how with this, Lulutina and the others would probably be happy. While he was spacing out, he had harvested. After doing so, he decides to head back. As he turns around, he senses the smell of human blood. He thinks about how the pungent odor of the metal tools was also in the air. He comes to the conclusion that he would have to confirm this himself, thinking that they would have left the cave was very odd. As he turns around, he sees three girls talking about how they were glad that Lulutina and the others were in there, that their allergy towards humans was a serious problem. The bear decides that if it gets dangerous, then he can't run home, and then he will have to fight. He decides that he will only do it if he senses that they're hostile. As he's looking at the three men, he realizes that he might have been spotted. He examines the wound and realizes that it looks quite bad and that it might have punctured an artery. He doesn't understand why they were so wary. Ultimately, he decides that he will not interfere. As he is about to turn away and go, one of the men realizes that this was the bear that he had fought after he was reincarnated. He tells the others that there was no mistake and that he was sure that this was him. They begin to charge. One of the men yells at the bear, telling him that he is foolish if he thinks that that trick will work on them again. They begin to beat him, but realize that at this rate they could be cut through. The bear gets up and he begins to fight back. Before they know it, they're being crushed by him. They realize that the bear was eating humans. The white bear stood in the trees, watching as all of this was taking place. The man realizes that if they keep going at this rate, then they will get annihilated and that they will have to run. They realize that they may not make it that far if he's carrying Roy, but he decides to do it anyway. He tells one of his team members to run away with Roy in the bushes. As they do, he apologizes. The white bear watches. As cruel as it sounds, he wouldn't have felt like saving them, especially if they had left their wounded comrade behind. As he is thinking this, the two army members walk in, they see the bear and begin to get afraid. He decides to run away and begins to do so. As he does, he is confronted by the other bear. He tells them that they will pick up right where they had left off, and so they begin to fight. After the fight, he realizes that he had fought Shiro for the second time, but that it still was not a very hard fight. As he is facing away, Shiro comes and attacks him. He realizes that this attack actually hurts, which meant that Shiro was getting serious. As he turns to face the black bear, he is attacked very hard. He realizes that he is actually quicker at attacking than he had imagined. He begins to take very heavy blows that hurt more than the ones before. He realizes that he cannot keep taking blows like this, and that there has to be an opening. As soon as he sees one, he tries to attack, but Shiro attacks harder. Kumakichi notices that he has an opening to his right and steps towards it. He realizes that the black bear's right eye is actually scared and that it looks like he can barely see from it. The white bear uses this as an advantage and decides that he will just keep going for his blind spot. As they are fighting, people nearby are realizing what's going on. The white bear calls to the black bear that it was really easy to tell where he was going and realizes that he was beginning to look very grumpy. He thinks about it and realizes that if he keeps going like this, then he had missed his chance to flee. He decides that if he dodges, he will end up losing his life. Therefore, he cannot dodge. He decides to throw the black bear aside. He musters up all his strength and does exactly that. Once he does, he realizes that the black bear had run away again. Wounded beasts were usually bad, but there was a chance that he would end up going for Lulutina. He decides that he should clean up as soon as he can. While he's thinking this, he turns around, and all three of the army members are facing him, saying that he is not an average bear, that he had never seen a white elm before, and they tell that to him. The bear responds, saying that he didn't really know, that he doesn't think that he is an elm, that he's just a bear who happens to be living around there. All three of them look very relieved. They apologize to him for suspecting him and say that they are thankful to him that he had saved them. The man introduces himself as Joseph the Dark Elf. The white bear realizes that the dark skin and the refined looks on his face made him look very girlish. Now that he had mentioned it, he did kind of look like one, and that he probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference if his voice wasn't so low that this really was a guy. Joseph turns around and realizes that Shiro had made a run for it and that they could have ended him in just a few seconds. The white bear asks if that was the name of the bear from before, to which Joseph tells him that it was and asks if he had seen him and had noticed that that was a monster called a giant big bear. The white bear realizes that there had been a lot of rumors about him killing a bunch of knights who had come up to clear evil. He tells Joseph that they should just treat his friends first, and that there should be a river nearby where they can go and wash their wounds. The white bear guides them, and as they do, Joseph apologizes again, to which the white bear says that it's okay. He thinks about how by washing the plant well, crushing it, and then spreading it on the affected parts, it could function as emergency aid. Styptic grass was the kind of plant growing near the human village, and its sap helped stop bleeding. The white bear thinks about how the other men miraculously didn't have any life-threatening diseases or injuries, but the relief was brief that they couldn't say that the guy whose head got smashed was in any better condition. He asks Joseph if they shouldn't leave the forest and head to a doctor. Joseph tells him that he's thankful for his concern, but that there was a reason that he couldn't. The bear asks what the reason was, to which he is told that they were adventurers and that they got an advance payment from their patron to do his quest. If they give up on it, they would have to give the money back. He tells the bear that this was for his sister to watch. The bear apologizes. He tells him that he shouldn't and that it was something that was all set out to do. The bird tells Joseph that it looked like he had a reason as well, to which Joseph tells him that he had saved their lives and therefore he guessed that he had a duty to tell him their story. Joseph and the others came from an adventurous guild in a town far away. They came to the forest to exterminate the evil beast. They had hit each other, but even then they were together for a long time. They had escaped many hellish situations again and again. And if they ever had a problem, they were always helped each other, and that was what their friendship was. Roy was quite a reserved man, but he was just keeping quiet about the fact that his sister had a terrible disease, and if they could get some good medicine, then they could cure it. But medicine costs a lot of money, and it was something that they really could not afford. That was when they had seen the request. They were told that the bear, which appeared out of nowhere, had gone wild in several villages, and they, usually reliable tops in the fort, didn't do a thing to help the villagers. Tired of waiting, they gathered up as much money as they could and decided to put out a request. Joseph and the others carelessly used the advance payment, and now they had no chance to stop the bear or to give the payment back. He tells the bear that they were just morons who only set their food from the business, that they had no choice now and that they couldn't be forced to pay it back, that it was the same thing as death for them. The white bear had offered to help them and get rid of him after they had told their story. He called Joseph out since he was about to carelessly fling himself into a battle against the black bear. But first, in order to do that, he had to get their permission to do something quite reckless. They decide that they will give the injured man a proper burial later, but right now they had more important things to focus on. They decided to use him as bait for the black bear, and it worked. It was just like the white bear had said. He tells Joseph to shut up, or the bear might hear them. They realized that using him as bait to bring out the bear was sacrilegious, but that he had told Joseph that it involved digging up their buried friend, and he was okay with that. It was because of the strong desire for spoils that every bear had. The black bear kept coming back for most bowls despite in the middle of a figure even during everything else that had been caused. He had heard that the bear apparently kept picking at the remains until there was nothing left, and now bears would never give up on their gain once they had a taste of it. The white bear decides that they have a plan to put an end to him and decide to attack. They attack the black bear and realize that their trap had worked. They throw a bomb towards him to create a fire. It works just as they had planned, and the bear catches on fire. He then tries to get up, and the white bear tells him to attack him. They both begin to fight, and due to him already being injured, the white bear has a better chance. He realizes that he will have to crush the black bear's spirit and that he was clearly at a physical disadvantage as he was smaller than him, but he decides that he will not let go of the black bear. They began to fight, and the white bear realizes that it is hard but does not give up. He begins to strangle him and eventually is able to exterminate him completely. They are all very happy. A few days later, he goes back with a lot of money, and all the girls are happy to see this. They realize that they also have cooking oil and other things like sugar, salt, and clothes, medical supplies, and even a mirror and lots of vegetables. They ask the white bear how he had gotten them, to which he said that some really good people had given it to him. Joseph and the guys had bought it for him using the reward money that they had gotten for beating the bear. They had settled on giving him some extra goods necessary for life in the forest. So after he had convinced Joseph that he needed money for his adventuring but could not spend money in the forest, he really wanted to give him all the reward money. In the beginning, they seemed like a really passionate, dutiful, and good-hearted bunch of people. As they're going through everything that the white bear had brought, the girls come running towards the sweets, and he realizes that the little ones really like them. They begin to eat. The white bear is told that all girls like sweet things. Komakichi tells Lulutina that he had met a traveling dark elf merchant, and he had gotten him to secretly send him some things from a month ago. It was only a little so nobody would ever find this place. Lulutina says that that is okay and that today was a special day. Lulutina tells Riri to help her with some things and to not just keep looking around at the mirror. In return, she tells Lulutina to be quiet. Lulutina begins getting frustrated, saying that she is going to have to dress a bit better, especially if she wants Komakichi to notice her at all. Komakichi realizes that Lulutina is really devoted to fashion and that he knew that she kept that mirror just for herself. She would have been perfect for bridal wear, not just off-the-rack clothes either. They were all custom-made. When she received the cloth that Kumakichi had acquired from Joseph, she turned it into a sewing machine and was barely focused on making anything but new clothes. Their charm only got better when they wore the most elegant clothes, and they were all very beautiful girls to begin with. He realizes that he had never had a girlfriend in his previous life, and therefore he couldn't really decide on something so high class. He was a polar bear now, and he could not choose between any of the options. While Riri is showing Kumakichi options, Lulutina comes in, saying that she should not be stressing Kumakichi like that. She has to know that he was going to have beautiful girls serving him, and that it was better for him to wear really good clothes. Kumakichi walks out of the cave, and as soon as he does, he bumps into Lalo, who gives him a huge hug, saying she wants to fluff. She is soon joined by Lala and Lena, who also surround Kumakichi. He begins to smell something sweet and spicy and gets alarmed. He walks over to where something is being cooked and says that it looked very good. He realizes that she didn't just reheat the boar stew and boil it, but that she had made jam stew. She took her time and sautéed the other ingredients and spices together, which were roasted boar meat, sliced onions, and sliced round carrots. It didn't take much skill to make this. You could use the sauce created at the bottom of the container if you washed them well and take the innards out and salted it. The flavoring was the fish sauce, and that could basically be made using river fish. Speaking of which, they were actually using the stuff that they had gotten from Joseph, and in order for them to take those materials, they would have to let it age for 6 months to a year so that they could only enjoy it when it was done. In the last few days, they had been building a house. They would need the wood carbonated in it that way, or they would quickly rot. So now the logs used for the lower segment were heated until their surface became black for presentation purposes. Then they had started building. They noticed some logs and arranged them on all 4 sides. Then they cut up a square near the center so they could make a fireplace, and they cut out some windows for lighting and entrance. It would have been easier to make, and it would have been harder to make mistakes, but as per the roof, they wanted to make it one-sided. Finally, after they had finished the roofing, they obtained their log cabin. The girls saw the cabin and were surprised, to which Kumakichi told them that it was only temporary for now, but that they could sleep there today. All the girls had gotten very excited, and seeing them that happy made Kumakichi glad that he was born a guy. The girls realized that it smelled of fresh wood, and that made them happy. Lulutina asks Kumakichi if she can do anything to make him happy or to thank him, to which he says that the day that they had prepared to become food, he had not only saved them and their lives, but also their spirits had come back, and they had been living under the stars. After they had lost their parents, they tell Kumakichi that they have nothing to say but thank you. Kumakichi asks Lulutina if she will help him, saying that they were not done finishing their work. Kumakichi tells them that this was their house now, and they should be happy. Aratuna walks in, saying that it wasn't just theirs, but it was both his and their house together. Kumakichi realizes that he cannot bear all those tears, and that she was a very sweet girl. He asks the girls if they will help him and tells them that the house was not quite finished yet. They all sit down around the fireplace and announce that the wind will not make them sneeze anymore. Kumakichi realizes that after that they had all worked together to finish their exterior walls, and that it was finally warm and a place that they could live in. Then finally they installed the fireplace and fulfilled their general needs. To plug up the roof there was healed, dark logs to cover the gaps. They filled the openings between the logs with earth, clay, and preserved insects, which stopped the wind from coming in. One day this house would break down, but for now it was good enough. As wood changed, it lost moisture after being cut down. We usually have to take years to dry out, or else it would not be fit for construction. Lulutina thinks about how she felt that she had made the right choice. Kumakichi realizes seeing Lulutina's face that she is happy and that it should be enough to survive the winter. Lulutina tells Kumakichi that they've been having mushroom stew and that it was full of vegetables. Kumakichi realizes that there was still a lot and therefore decides to eat some. He says that it looks really good and that if anybody wanted seconds, they could have them. They all sit together and begin to eat, and that night they had all slept very well. Kumakichi wakes up in the morning and realizes that the weather is great and that he should finish this before everybody woke up in the morning. As he is trying to go away, somebody sneaks up behind him. He realizes that it is Aratuna. She tells him that she wanted to go and see how the trap was set and how it was doing. She tells him that she wants to come along. Kumakichi thinks about how she could probably catch prey all on her own one day, and that she was the quickest and more skilled amongst them. That the girl was quieter than the other sisters. He realizes that she was just 10 years old, but that her lines looked very good, that her two older sisters were a lot older than her. Kumakichi catches himself thinking about how he was having weird thoughts, and just when they had crossed the rope barrier, he tells Aratuna that he had hoped that they would get some very good food. Aratuna grabs some squirrels and tells Kumakichi that they will process them first. If they weren't having food problems, eating carnivorous animals wouldn't be his first choice. Compared to the critters, squirrels that eat only fruits and nuts tasted much better. He tells her that the flesh of carnivorous animals had a bad smell and that the ones that they had got first also did. He was impressed that they had managed to make something so good after making a random stone oven. Then on top of that, they had baked some bread and made some meatball stew. They ground up the bones of the squirrels that they had brought back. He realizes that Lulutina looks very elegant when she drinks her tea, and that ever since Lulutina learned how to make bread, she stopped eating meat every morning. Lulutina was actually different from the others, and she always had that elegant feeling around her. Therefore, he relaxed a bit. They had finished making their precious log cabin, and he allowed Lulutina to take the three girls to go and get some mushrooms while being careful. As they are waiting for Lulutina, Kumakichi realizes that she was already very late, that they had passed a lot of time, and Lulutina had still not come back. He was beginning to get worried and decides that he will go and look for her. Before he can go, the three small girls come running to him, crying. He asks them what was wrong and what had happened to Lulutina. The girls tell him that she was taken by bad humans. At the Wild Boar Fort, a soldier comes to Hadwin and tells him that they have captured the demi-human girl. Upon hearing this, the commander realizes that the infamous werewolf girl must be the lively one, and that he is sure that eating her up would be very entertaining. The soldier tells him that they will have her frisked and brought before him as soon as possible, to which he says that there is no need for that as he will leave the main course for later. He tells the soldier that he hopes that all the girls are grateful that they have brought them there for himself, and that for now, he will have some fun with all of them. He tells them that he could do a few favors for their families as well, and that he can promise them a life without discomfort as long as they give him the respect and obedience that he deserves. But of course he says that in their dreams they are still peasants, just like the werewolf girl. He thinks about how he will pass them off to a slaver as soon as he is bored with them, and that they are nothing more than docile cattle. He shouts, saying that he cannot wait to meet her, and begins to walk over. In the dungeon, Lulutina is being tied up. She begins to try and fight, but the soldiers tell her that it would be better if she just gave it up already. They say that the daughter of the chieftain was cut from a different cloth. Normally, even an adult man would cry out at least once after that much pain, but she had not. The guards tried to scare her, but she remained calm. They tell her that the boss had told them that they could not have their way with her, which was really bad considering they really wanted to. They tell her that she is a pretty little thing, and that they were supposed to rough her up and make sure that she was in pain and nothing more. They tell her that if she tries anything else, who knows what kind of punishment the demi-lover will give him. The Lord was busy with the kidnapped girls, and therefore he would leave the demi for tomorrow. Lulutina turns to the soldiers and tells them that she did not expect them to be so weak. That when she had seen what huge guys they both were, she had expected more. She tells them that they should not get closer, and if they do, then she will make them regret it. She says that if they were to have a small tasting session, nobody would know. The soldier tells her that she is in an underground dungeon, and therefore she can scream and cry all she likes, but no one will be able to hear her or will come to her aid. Although if she promises to be a good girl, then he might put away the scary tools. He continues, saying that the last time that they had shoved their tools in somebody from behind, she couldn't hold back her tears while apologizing, but there was no mercy. He holds on to her head, saying that he wants complete obedience from the beginning, that she cannot show them anything and get her way. He says that werewolves, soldiers were strong, but he did not know how much. They tell her that they should squash her little fortress if they had a chance. She tells him that if her father was around then he would destroy him, to which he tells her that he had already had a taste of it. He shows her his face, which is very badly burnt. He says that sure the Berbera tribe warriors were fierce and brave. They had fought one-on-one. The sin of denying him the finishing blow was wrong, but even God wouldn't forgive their sins no matter how hard they would pray. He asks her if she understands what he's saying. He tells her that they did not strike him down, that his wife had left him for his subordinate and took the kids along with her. And that was what happened when he would come home from her battle. He had thought that they might be a respected warrior, but only until the war ends. He just did his part as a humble soldier, but he didn't have to go out hunting for demi-humans. Lulutina tells him to stop already and that that is enough. She realizes that the man was, just like her, a victim of the war. She wonders if the look that she had seen on his face was pity. The soldier tells her that he will torment every fiber of her body until he is done. That he will carve the meaning of true pain into her very being by the time that the sun rises, so that she won't be able to think of anything but him. He tells her that he won't stop for anything and that she should prepare herself, that no one could stop him once he gets going. The other soldier tells him that they had orders to make the girl face up where the rest of her family was and that they should cut this act already. He turns to the soldier again, asking him if he was listening, and says that he does not have any idea what kind of punishment they will get if they mess up, and therefore he should not do anything that will spoil the mood for the boss. The man with a scared face then hits the other guard. He tells him that his wounds were crying out for the blood of the demi-human and therefore he should not be ordered around. He didn't think that the demi-human girl would be pretty a little while back. Two guards standing outside the jail are having a conversation, saying that it sounds nice. If they catch them, then he is sure that they could get at least one of the girls for themselves, and maybe there are more demi-humans. One of the guards says to the other that he bets the boss is already having some fun with her, and he is so jealous. He asks the other if they should maybe go around for better luck to watch. The other one says that they shouldn't. As they are having this conversation, they suddenly hear a noise coming from behind them, and they realize that they do not want to walk around in the forest, especially considering how dark it was. While they're talking, suddenly Kumakichi comes and begins to attack them. The guards try to tell him to stop, but he does not listen and starts to attack both of them. After he's done with them, he makes his way around. He had come to bring down justice upon each one of the guards. To kidnap a fair maiden was an act that was very wicked and cowardice. One of the guards says that they should know that this was the wild bear that was there earlier. He remembers Joseph asking him if he had a plan, to which he realizes that he just wants to send everybody flying. He thanks Joseph for showing up and says that he did not have to do anything else but wait. Joseph tells him that he does not want Kumakichi to be captured. He continues, saying that he would rather stay as they owe Kumakichi their lives and that his wife was like a sister to them, and therefore they could not leave her behind. They continue saying that Hadwin was a terrible man and that he was just a tyrant, that it was time to make this world a better place by taking him down. While they are talking, a lot more guards come and begin to attack Kumakichi. The guards realize that their swords aren't cutting, to which he tells them that they cannot hurt him. The guards try to stop Kumakichi from going inside, but he comes towards them and begins attacking. Eventually, the guards break their formation. As the Lord is having fun with his girls, he hears something, and a man comes in saying that he has a report. He asks the guard what's wrong, to which he is told that there are intruders and that they have already broken through their defenses and that they are fighting. He asks how that was possible, to which he is told that it was because of Lala. He tells the guards that they should not let the intruders enter this room and that they should just kill them already. Kumakichi is still breaking down walls, trying to find Lulutina no matter what. An army member comes towards him, saying if only heavens will forgive his transgression upon these grounds. That the fort was under the protection of knights, and he should not be doing what he is because he is an elm, and he guesses that that was why bears stuck together. That if he wanted his girl back, then he must defeat the soldier, the right-hand man of the Lord. He swings towards Kumakichi, and Kumakichi begins to get hurt. He thinks about Lulutina and decides that she must have endured much worse since being captured, and therefore he must take this. Although he is constantly being hit, he comes back stronger than the last time and crushes the face of the soldier. He enters into the room where the Lord is asking where Lulutina is and sees the three girls sitting. The Lord tries to hide, but Joseph spots him immediately and tells Kumakichi that that was who the boss was. The Lord is scared and asks who Kumakichi is, saying that he was the son of a margrave and that he was highborn and he should realize this and not attack. Joseph tells him that he knows that he had committed a bunch of heinous acts while hiding behind his position and that his death would fulfill the wishes of a lot of nearby villagers. The Lord tries to make a deal with Kumakichi that in exchange for leaving him alive, he could get all the girls and all the money that was in the lockbox. He tells Kumakichi that he is too young to die and that he should understand. Kumakichi asks him where Lulutina is if he is the commander of this fort, to which he says that he will put an end to this. Joseph says that after all his selfish indulgences, they're just going to cause him to have to beg for his life. Kumakichi asks him again where she is, to which he says that the dark-haired girl was in the dungeons underground and that he had told him everything he knew, and therefore he should be spared. Right as he says this, Kumakichi attacks him. He tells Joseph that he should take the other kidnapped girls and help them escape first, to which he says that first they should hurry up and find his wife. Kumakichi tells him that he can do that on his own and Joseph should not worry. Joseph decides that he will take the girls and protect them. As he goes to the girls, they tell him that he was the only one who could protect them. But if they leave those girls on their own, who knows what other soldiers in the fourth would do to them? Joseph turns to Kumakichi and says that when all of this is over, drinks are on him. Kumakichi tries to find Lulutina and smells something burning. He wonders if someone had started a fire and begins to get agitated, shouting for Lulutina. He finally spots her with the soldier who is trying to torture her. Seeing this, he gets very angry. The soldier asks who he is and asks if the bear will get in his way and tries to attack him. But before he can hit Kumakichi, Kumakichi hits him and gets him out of the way. He goes over to Lulutina and hugs her, saying that he will let her out and that all the bruises were his fault and he was so sorry. He tells her that it was all right now and that everything was fine.